Alright, welcome back. Getting ready to show off some of the more recent work here. Let's see what we've got. So much going on now. Hopefully things will be looking up for me. We'll get this game out there for people to play. I'm trying to finish it quickly for a couple of reasons. One, because, you know, why waste time with it, but also because it might get it out there faster. Now, I've been working on, as I said in the last video, 2 different representations because of how much space is limited. Now, I've went ahead and gotten rid of the wrestling moves that involve the t-shirt character. Okay, so that's one thing that's gone. I've changed the color of some of the wrestlers. What I'm doing is trying to free up as much space as possible in that 8th bank for graphics for the wrestlers. So there are a couple of things I'm going to do, because the only major difference between the first 2 characters on the left side, the one with long hair and knee pads and the one with short hair and knee pads, when it comes to you know, like their frames when they're body slammed, or the frames that they use when they're being held up for a suplex, or things like that, are the knee pads. So I'm going to make knee pads universal. Everyone's going to be wearing knee pads, no matter who they are. And that's going to make it extremely easy for the frames to be generated and reused for anyone that's doing this. Now, the t-shirt caused problems because having to make a t-shirt frame for everything means that I have to create that many more extra frames for the animation. Now, I am running low on that animation, so there are a couple other things that I can probably do. Like for certain moves, I can get rid of certain effects, like hair and things like that, depending on how they end up looking on the screen. So again, this is just going to be, you know, working till the point where I get as much graphics jammed in there as I possibly can. So what I'm looking at now is possibly, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 frames to work with, and several reuses for all of them. I've got a stance, a wide step, which is used as some of the normal poses, and the thin step, which is from a side view, foot with 1 foot back. I've got grappling, a punch, a drop that can be used for drop kicks, for the character being knocked down, for the character getting back up, several things. It can be used for a lot of stuff. Press, which can be a gorilla press, it can be for body slams, it can be the character winning, it can be the character revving up the crowd, it could be them holding up the belt. So it can be all kinds of stuff. Lots of uses with that. A splash move, which can also be the character falling from high on his face, like a frame right before they collapse down on the mat. I've got a slumping graphic where it could be they're running out of energy, they're getting their head hit into the turnbuckle, they are getting knocked downward from an attack, or they could be getting ready to be suplexed or prepare for pile drive, stuff like that. The driver, which is what I'm calling, where they're flipped upside down. That can be for pile drivers, suplexes, all kinds of stuff, being knocked down off of a rope or something. The pinning move, which can be used for other moves too, for jumping down on them, being knocked down, stuff like that, and being pinned. And that's going to be a very useful one for them hitting the ground. That'll probably also be their frame for hitting the ground. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, and I'd like to put more in there if I can. Right now I have 5 frames inputted into the game, and they're taking up their space. The pinned, the squat, which is, I forgot to mention, is kneeling down, but also could be a knee attack, a jumping frame. The splash and the drop are all small frames. They take up much less space than all the others. I've went ahead and written down everything here, the moves, and how many pixels high each one of the frames is, to give me an idea of how much space they're going to take up. Now, the way this works, as it's adding stuff, it will reach a limit, and then it will go ahead and exceed that. So I've noticed I can add something and it will still say the same amount. That has a lot to do with how the system blocks together the 8x8 chunks and kind of groups them together. So I may be able to reorder them and change that. So just how it is, tallying it up will show by the amount of pixels high each of the images is. Okay, so the shirt guy for now is omitted. Okay, and so all those characters I showed that had a shirt, which I think there were 4 of them, have been swapped out for the no shirt character. And the one that looked like Hulk Hogan, it really shocked me because it ended up like looking just like Hulk Hogan. It looked considerably better. Now, what I was going to do with the shirt guys is to save on frames, have them walk to the ring in the shirt, and then like tear their shirt off and then go into the ring without the shirt. Okay? And so the only frames I was really going to have that involved actually wrestling would not involve the shirt. That'd be fine. But then that's an extra 3 large frames, and so I went ahead and got rid of it for now. That doesn't mean it's going to stay out for good because changes are going to have to be made no matter what to go ahead and allow as many moves as possible in the game. Now, so let's see. I'll go ahead and show where I'm at here. First, I'll show just a little experimental standard kernel effort. This is using PF heights only, inline rand, so that random numbers can be generated without changing banks or anything like that. Speed optimization, smart branching. The speed and smart branching don't really need to be there, and depending on how I end up using random numbers, inline rand might not need to be there. 32K is my size here. So we'll go ahead and just compile and show this real quick. It's not as good, but it's also not finished. We can see here 1,876 bytes of ROM, and I have all 3 stepping animation frames for what would be all 4 different types of wrestlers. So it is more room considerably because it's not those mirrored backgrounds. Okay. So there we go. And it's got the, I did a makeshift referee up in the top right, and originally I had used character missiles to fill in more details for him. I figured I could have the ball, that's the ball, for both of the screens that are layered, but it looks almost like a robot, you know. I mean, this is not obviously anywhere near the type of fidelity that I get from the mirrored images of the multi-sprite kernel. But we've got kind of makeshift spectators here. Let's see if I can get my finger proper here. Right here, got the row. Wrestler and his missiles pieces have not been put on yet because the sprites are different in the standard kernel. I've got my little ref robot looking guy back there. I've got my Hulk Hogan wrestler without his mustache and with his shirt on. Okay, so I'll move him. Here's moving this guy. And if you've noticed, we do have mirroring. Oh, well, mirroring for one of them. don't know if both of them mirrored. Oh, actually, I don't think the other one is mirroring. Okay, and they are behind the front ropes. So the ropes on the front are actually using the control playfield option, where that layer is actually in front of the sprites for that part. And the ropes behind them do not use that effect, and so they will always appear behind the characters. Now, this is cute and everything, but really this is just playing around with, you know, what ifs and everything, and it's not really feasible. Well, it's more moves, but it's less of the good looking stuff, right? Like, so what this does, and I talked about this in the last video, is the ROM imprint for the backgrounds is super, super low. So what this is 2 screens of PF heights with controlled adjustments here. I'll go ahead and show it. Why not? Let's do that. So we can see how I designed these backgrounds. And you'll see that here, this is the second background. And then up here's the first one. Look how much space those take up. That's 12 rows. But then above them is the PF heights controlled widths of each row. You can see 1, 1, and 1. Those are the ropes. Here they are, 1, 1, and 1. Here's the spectator heads. Now I scroll down here. Here are the other ropes and the spectator bodies. And you can see 1, 1, and 1. Now you see there's only 19 for this bottom row, then 6 to have space between that and the first rope, then the first rope, another space between ropes, the rope, another space, and then the third rope. Then a 22 pixel wide separation, and then we have the crowd widths, which is this one here. Okay, this one is the top of the top turnbuckle area. Okay, now comparatively, let's actually let me see something. I think maybe my screen kind of focused out of. Sorry about that. There we go. There, you can see that, I think. So this, again, this is using PF heights to get this these screens. Now these take up no space. They're like, I don't know, they're nothing. They're like 20 something bytes or 32 bytes, or they're very little compared to this right here. See that? This is where this playfield begins for the first for the in-ring screen. Okay, that's 88 rows. Then this one up here, this is 22 rows, I think. But then as we go down here, here's the next super big one. All of these are at least twice as big, and some of them 4 times or more. Some of them are, you know, gigantic. Look at that. That's a big background. Even this is a large background. But because I'm doing these large backgrounds, we can see the difference in detail right there. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. And I like it. I like having more sprites, more background details. As far as the functional wrestling game, it costs me in moves and graphics that can be used for the 2 sprites. Also, of course, like with Yeet Fighter, in this particular case, I could use the missiles the way I did for Yeet Fighter with arms and legs and things like that, and it cuts way down on it too. So because I'm not using, you know, large stretched out missile stuff for the arms and legs, there has to be more frames. So that costs more in the ROM space for graphics, and because I'm using up all of this extra space for these backgrounds. So let's look at the changes. Now we remember this guy, if you watched, if anyone's paying attention here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, actually I think that's focused in pretty good. I'd like to zoom in slightly though. Okay, remember that guy, and now if I go to the left, here's a new one. He was the original t-shirt guy. And I've given him, like, I guess a headband, and he's got a different, bigger jaw. Here's the next guy. I've changed some colors on some of them. Now I want to show the Hulk Hogan guy. That's what ended up being the Hulk Hogan guy. So let's go to the ring. And I think he looks a lot more like Hulk Hogan now. The mustache is better. Of course, he's hulked out. Now, he's going to have knee pads, though, and the guy on the left's going to have knee pads. That's going to make it so that any reactionary frame, like where they're lifted to be pile drived or suplexed, anything that shows the legs full length, will all be able to use the same frame for each side. It makes it so instead of having to do 3 different frames, I can do 2, and it matters because it's a full length 32 pixel tall frame. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in a little more. And then I'm going to try to focus on these characters. Alright. So yeah, there's first of many sacrifices that will need to be made to jam-pack all of these cool details into the game. That's the left side of the ring. So we've got in-ring with the ref, we've got at the top rope, and that could also be used for, you know, turnbuckle stuff, but mostly for top rope. Outside of the ring on the right side with the announcers and the crowd. Outside of the ring on the left side with the camera and the crowd. And this screen here takes up the most amount of ROM space because of that 88 row. But, and the way I'm thinking of doing this is kind of a little bit like Saturday Night Slam Masters, where it imitates and kind of resembles more of a fighting game or Final Fight, you know, Street Fighter 2, stuff like that. I'm probably going to have them be on an axis in this screen. So they're going to be going left and right and then grappling with each other and trying to throw each other into the ropes or trying to body slam and punch and stuff. And then as they wear each other down, of course, it can get into like a situation where one can pin the other one. Also, one can knock the person down, then go up to get on the rope, and then it would switch to the other screen. Let's see here. I'll wait till the ref gets to the left. I'll be putting code to reset the ref, so there's no way it can get in the way of this screen. So that's if he knocked you down and then he's climbing up there, and it will place the wrestler on the same x-axis but adjust the y-axis so that they're laying somewhere down there briefly when you want to get a chance to jump on them. Now I might change my mind about that. So I'm thinking the characters will get close and automatically lock up to grapple. And then you can press directions and button presses to get different things to happen. Okay, so it might be that pressing a button and away will fling them into the ropes. Pressing a button and towards might do, I don't know, a different move, like something easier. I was thinking up could be body slam, down could be attempting a pile driver or some kind of grappling move depending on the wrestler. I haven't really, thought about that. I would like to get this game done within a month, but I really don't know if that's possible. So now the second sacrifice that could be made, and it would add the capability of more moves but less unique wrestlers, is to eliminate the second first player wrestler. And then well, yeah, all of the stuff. It would immediately free up 5 large frames for moves. But what I'm going to do first is try to plug in all of the rest of the frames that are on my list and see if they'll fit, and maybe zero it out. If it zeroes it out, that's good. I'm thinking rather though it's going to go over, and so I'll have to do that. Now I can still add longer hair and other details and stuff to the wrestlers with the missile sprites, so it doesn't completely lose the uniqueness. But if we look at this wrestler here, there's the long-haired ones, there's the short-haired ones. So they look very similar. Like this guy though, he might be difficult to make one that actually looks like him, because he's got long hair and the mask and knee pads and stuff. So again, I'm adding knee pads to everybody. I've changed some of the colors, and I'll be doing final color setups as I progress through it. But I think by getting rid of the second first player group and then trying to use details to make more unique wrestlers, I might be able to get some of those extra little things, like maybe them using a chair or something like that. So and this is still, honestly, even though I've got a lot of frames in there now, I can show some of the frames just for fun. And this will just be on the select screen, but I can go in here to D, which is the frames for the first player, or T, which are the frames for the second player, and I can input what number that is. So we'll go ahead and do, I'll just do this on the very first character, because I know both of them are 0. And we can see, let's see, we'll do the grapple, which is 3 on the list. So just to look at those, we'll have the first wrestlers do the grapple move. And there we go. See, there's the character with his arms up as he's getting ready to grapple with the other character. And if I press left, there's the other character with his arms up, ready to grapple. And when the two are, basically, right mashed into each other, like, crossing pixels, so to speak, the arms will look like they're folded up over each other. So it'll look like grappling. That's what I'm going for. So another one will be the punch, which could also be used for a clothesline move, and that will be 4. Now I need to adjust one of the missile parts on him for this move. And it looks very similar to the grappling, but his legs are different and his arms a little bit different. And here's the other guy with his punch move. I'd also like to possibly create stories for the wrestlers, so that when you pick a wrestler, they'll have a different progression of opponents. That'll be part of you know, the outside of these graphical banks and animations. It'll be in the banks that'll be full of code that it's reaching out for, and that's later. So people might think my code looks really, really sloppy and dumb and not sorted out well. This is all piecing together everything to begin with. And when I finally get close to being done or done with the game, then I can go back through it and eliminate any redundant code and try to get things to work a little bit faster. To do that, you know, I could use a data segmentation, or I could use a on statement for certain ones, but a lot of times I have a lot of complex variables interacting, and so it's not easy. It's not as easy. So like, okay, for music, whenever I do music, I always use data because it makes it a lot easier to program music. What ends up happening is you just plug in notes and duration for your sound. You pick a frequency or a channel, and then you can repeat notes. You can change the frequencies. You can put them on variable timers. That can help to add drum beats or add quieting or loud effects, kind of an echoing sound on certain things. You can do a lot of little tricks when you combine variables with the data for sound. But because it's so simple, it's just it's note and duration and rest are the three different things that I use in the data segment. Now, I could possibly use a data segment here, right? So I can tie everything to A where it is. But you see, A is going by fives. And not only is A going by fives, but it reaches 128 before it switches over to U. Now, all of the U, which are the second player, start at 60 and go in fives, or start at 10, I mean, and go in fives till they reach 65. So I'd have to have the data go by fives, but also I have to have a data statement for every variable. So V, K, D, U, G, and T, and then again U and V under special conditions for right next to A equals 10, A equals 65, A equals 125, or A equals 70. What it ends up doing is it shaves about 150 to 200 bytes off of the overall size of the code. And it gives you the same results, but it is harder to do when you have that many different things going on. So I could do that, and I might eventually, but it all depends. When I reach that point where I'm ready for the game to be done, if I fit all of the code in it that I want, and I maybe still have a tiny bit of room left over, I'm not going to bother going through it all and consolidating everything and shrinking it up. Now, I do get rid of redundant code. So, you know, if something is digging through things and it can be put in a pattern where nothing redundant is happening, I do that not just to save room, but also because it can slow down code and it bogs things down. But the only time I'm really going to intentionally overcomplicate things for myself is if I'm reaching the point where I'm running out of space. And I don't see that happening here. I still have, if we look down here, 4,052 bytes in 7, 6, 5, and 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 banks that I can fill in interactive math for all of these sprites that I'm putting in there. I have almost no room comparatively, 708 bytes for sprites. So that's my one choke right there, and that's what I have to worry about. Now the first bank is actually running out of room, but that's fine because I'm almost done with everything that's going to be done in the first bank. So then the second bank still has almost 3,000 bytes left, and the third bank has over 3,000 bytes left. I have a lot of room for code, and so I definitely want my code to be fast and efficient, and I don't want too much redundant code. But the way I layer things with so many variables in a row, sometimes it gets a little more complicated than what I want to deal with, to break everything into data segments or to use other things like, well, what it would be in original BASIC would be, the for next loops and stuff, but those don't really exist in Atari Basic. So they have on, okay, and on is good if you're just using a row of things happening without too many conditions or without any conditions that then relate to a go-to statement or something like that. So it does help. I have used it before several times. I've used on statements and data statements many times, but in this case, when I build the game, I don't do anything like that, at least at first. And that's like piecing things together so that I know where everything has to be and what everything's doing. And eventually everything's going to get moved around and shuffled up and changed up too through the data creation. I'm going to want the joystick to do different things in different places. I want animation segments where the joystick does nothing or will do very little, like possibly advance a ring entrance scene, or skip to the next part of something. But I don't want to be able to interrupt things that have to happen. So when a variable is taking control for a move to happen, I have to give it the time to get that move done, and I don't want someone to be able to manipulate that until it's finished. So, and that's in coding, time is an eternity. So you want to be ready to control the characters. For instance, and I've said this before, I buffer the joystick motions and presses and things usually. So I'll do 5 machine cycles before I have the button actually affect something. And what that does is it gives me control over the speed of everything that's reacting to the joystick or the buttons. Usually, you are not in a video game pressing a direction or a button and having the raw speed of direct interaction. There's some kind of bouncing, debouncing, buffering, timing kind of space for the buttons and the joystick. And so I take that into account. But also, when you do a move, if I have my loop going back through controls and you having full control over everything, there are variables that are going to take over that will kind of block out things when they need to. But I also can just have an entire loop of animation directions that's separate from the joystick inputs. So I could have it to where when a person's body slamming you, that segment will start and stop with nothing being able to change it until it's done. And that's more likely where I'll go with this, because it just makes things a lot simpler. Now, I had thought about a way to deal with the game without using too much random numbers, with only maybe one simple instance of randomosity. And that was to have somewhat of a rock, paper, scissors kind of layout, where not only will a direction do a specific move for that character, but certain moves will cancel out other moves. So, for instance, if you press the button to, and this is just what if. So what if when you press the direction and button to body slam, but they press the direction and button to throw you into the ropes, then the throwing into the ropes will actually cancel out the body slam. But we could have it so that if they try to body slam you and you try to suplex them, then the suplex will cancel out the body slam. We can have it so that if you try to throw them into the ropes, then pile driver will cancel that out. Things like that, so that the computer will basically roll the dice, and then based on what their random number is for that will be the direction that it's pressing, and then the direction will be the move that they're trying to do when you're locked up, and then the direction you press will determine whether you succeed at that move or not. Now that's simple. I can also change the number values so that one thing is more likely to happen than another, and then what that could be is a weakness. For instance, by making it so they try to throw you into the ropes more, maybe they're a flyer, and so they want to load you up by throwing you in the ropes, then do a body splash, and that's part of the wrestler's character. You can know that after you've played them a few times, there's a higher probability that that wrestler will try to throw you into the ropes, and then so you'll know to try to use whatever countering move works well against that. And so then your chance of winning that little rock, paper, scissors battle is higher. So it gives you something to learn for each wrestler while you're fighting against them. It gets patterns so that you'll start understanding the patterns of each unique wrestler. And it also gives me an idea of how I'm going to approach coding those moves for this specific game. So for like Yeet Fighter, I programmed random numbers that controlled the opponent. And the opponent is excellent in that game. I would love everyone, please try Yeet Fighter. Buy it, get the download, try, how it might be out there, soon to where lots of people will get a chance to download it and play it. And tell me what you think about the AI in that game and see if it's not totally kicking your butt, because it does. And also play it two-player and try to tell me it's not one of the funnest two-player fighting games. It's definitely going to be the funnest two-player fighting game for the Atari 2600, because it's probably the only two-player fighting game for the 2600. Other than whatever, karate, isn't there like a... Now I'm thinking in the future of making a Karate Champ style game for the 2600 that's simpler and more arcade. I might try to imitate the actual controls of Karate Champ or whatever, Way of the Exploding Fist, whatever name they gave it on the home consoles and stuff. Obviously I'm not going to call it Karate Champ. I have a lot of cool ideas for what to call it, but I think that's a great idea. I'd really love to do something like that, and I think people would like that more in the Atari crowd than they would like a Street Fighter 2 game, which they would probably think is too niche, right? I have so many ideas. I've said this before. I have so many ideas that I don't even have the time in the day or the months in a year or the years in a life to even get every kind of crazy idea up in my head happening in game form. But in my head, it's all happening to where I know I can. It's just making it happen. And that's really all. So this one, it's in the bag. I know I can do it. It's not maybe I can do it. I know that this is going to happen. It's just, what do I need to clip? What do I need to prune? What do I need to cut off? What do I need to add to get it to that point? And really, I want to have ring entrance music. I want to have crowds that are interactive, so they cheer or maybe boo if I can make a booing kind of noise coming out of there. I want more, just more than, what I'm aiming for is more than what you could even do in Nintendo Pro Wrestling, because I already know it's going to be more than what you could do in Title Match Pro Wrestling for either of those, 7800 or 2600 systems. But for this guy here, this is the fallback, and it could be used in the future for something. Someone else could use it if they want to use a method like this. This is the maximum moves, minimum background, minimum details avenue. And so I am adding little things to this here and there just to kind of keep it going as a safety net. So yeah, as a safety net to you know, to play around with in case I decide I want to go with a cheaper, sloppier looking ring. And honestly, I like this and everything. The ropes are nice and thin, right? I mean, it looks pretty good, but does it look like this one right here? Let's see. I'll grab a Hulk Hogan wrestler again. He's growing on me. Does it look like that? Heck no, it doesn't. That looks great. I love it. I love the bars come up and there's visible turnbuckles. It's got the name. It's got the ref moving. I like the ref. He just kind of steals the show, right? He looks great. The wrestlers, I think, look pretty good. There's going to be color tweaking and stuff, but what I did for this, so that the ref would appear to be in front of the ropes, is I cut big rows in the sprite. So there actually is they're like right here where his back lines up with that rope is actually an empty line on his back, and there, because he's only going to be moving right there back and forth. Now there might be, and this is something I want to do, and if I can free up some space, might be able to include, is the ref actually looking down at you from above. So suppose you are outside the ring fighting, and then you go to get back inside the ring, right? Then I might make it so that the wrestlers will be at the bottom and the ref will be up at the top moving back and forth. That's maybe, just maybe. I might just leave it like this though, to keep things kind of simple. But you know, and all these are just vapor. This is all just, you know, maybe. And I also might make it so the color of the ring changes. I might make a in-between screen that shows the wrestler holding up the belt in case you're getting ready to do a title match. I might go ahead and add a intercontinental belt and a champion belt and allow them to either hold it above their head or something to that effect. I don't know about wearing it. Well, I might be able to let them wear it if they're the only one on the screen at that moment. Then it would work. As long as they're not horizontally intersecting with another wrestler, then maybe I can have the belt for you know, one or the other. It all depends. This is very flexible right now because it is still in the infancy of creation. It does seem like I've got a lot done. I've got lots of screens here and lots of things going on. A lot of the eye candy and the glitz is all done. All of the nice looking stuff is all done, but the moves need plugged in. Once every frame is put in, then I'll be able to start deciding where each of those frames goes and how they're used. And then that will be done with loops that go into timed events, where each thing is a timed event. And what I'd like to do is have maybe a wrestler that's really, really strong, so that when they punch you, it like knocks you backwards. Then maybe have another wrestler that's really fast and they can hit you 3 or 4 times, but it doesn't do much damage. Have it to where one wrestler will do lots of jumping off the rope and lots of drop kicks and body splashes and stuff like that, but then another wrestler will do lots of suplexes and DDTs and moves like that. Well, I'd like to do a Boston Crab move. That would be great. Something like that. So yeah, it's like I said, this is still very much in the beginning of creation. Although a lot is done, it's almost reaching the level of being toys to play with, where I get to actually, you know, decide how they interact with each other and have the little animations interact with each other. So like today, I'll probably go ahead and have it so if they run into each other, they'll grapple, and it will go ahead and activate that grapple phase, and then I can start moving forward with that. So this has been an update. I've changed the graphics somewhat. I'm considering what to be gotten rid of and what to be added to try to get as much as I can. I want to try to add possibly chairs or weapons that can be used outside the ring, I guess maybe inside the ring. Possibly a fourth or fifth phase where they're at the bottom of the screen in the ring with the ref at the top, so we can get a look at the ref. The ref is going to have 2 or 3 phases. Right now we see one phase, which is the rear view moving left and right in a staggered way. And of course the second phase will be the ref counting. And those are the 2 must-have phases for the ref. But that third facing you phase is not 100% necessary, but adding it just adds that much more detail. So, you know, so what am I thinking of for this game? I want lots of different wrestlers. I want the crowd to get crazy based on what's going on in the ring. So I'd like them to either like boo or yell louder when moves happen. I'd like entrance music. I'm not going to have 24 different entrance music songs, though. I might, at the minimum, I'll have a good guy entrance song and a bad guy entrance song, but probably more realistically, I'll have probably 4 different songs at the most. And then we'll have a title, maybe a title song. I don't know. I might just leave out the title song so that when you flip the switch to start this game up, you're immediately on this character selection screen, and you'll be able to cycle through the characters and pick which one you want to start off as amongst all the different wrestler characters. And then this will also give the second player an opportunity to join in and have their wrestler choice to start a versus match, and try to keep it going from there. I thought about possibly going ahead and using the score as a timer for when the count happens, but I also thought about possibly doing some creative stuff with the score. Like I might do a little research and find out letters that can be used to spell several different things, like WVW or stuff like that, and then just reserve the numbers 1, 2, and 3 for the score row, and then use all the rest of the spaces in the score and the rest of the numbers, so it would be 0, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, to have little messages at the bottom of the screen. Also, I'd considered, and this would be if there were massive sacrifices in frames, having words, possibly have words. Now that's probably not going to happen though, because I really need as much graphics as possible to show as much as what I want to show in this game. But to have words pop up for moves, I think it would take up too much space, and I also think it would push the system way too hard to do that. But I may possibly try it out. I don't know. There's very slim, thin chance that I might try something crazy like that. But I could probably I don't know. I really don't know yet. I haven't used the text mini kernel to know what its big limitations are, but the idea that I could possibly have names for every wrestler, that's cute, but that would probably take up a lot of space. Or that rather I could have moves that pop up whenever they do the moves. I think the names would be cooler, but the moves would be neat, so it could like follow around. It could say punch or a punch, or something like that. A drop kick, body slam, suplex, have those keywords and have them pop up per move. But you know, they didn't do that in pro wrestling for the NES. So even though this might look really, really good, and it might seem that it does kind of go beyond what is even done with that, you know, better earlier game by Nintendo, that black box pro wrestling, it's going to take a lot to exceed that game as far as, you know, playability and fun factor and how it represented 80s wrestling and just everything. It's such an excellent game. I really don't expect to surpass it, but it is going to be a big part of the influence for, you know, how I want this game to look and feel. I want it to, of course, I want it to be better than that game, but you know, I don't want to lack the modesty that it would take to understand that that was a professional, coordinated effort, and that it was a really good, exciting video game. I think it was based off of a different, like an arcade game, wrestling game. So actually, let's go ahead and look. Let's look at a really super good arcade wrestling game that was out then that some people might not know about. Okay, so here we have Mat Mania, and we can see there's words, there's an announcer, really incredible graphics. Well, the first thing I'm noticing, and you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that ring is like considerably larger than any wrestling ring I've ever seen. Like, I mean, I know they're pretty big, but wow. The thickness of the ropes is good. I like that. It says Taito Wrestling Association. There are a ton. There's Darth Vader in the audience. Looking for Waldo. Almost a howling 3. It says 1, 2, 3. Next event, you versus Karate Fighter. Wow, he threw him into the ropes upside down. Now we're not seeing any crowd animation. As great as the crowd looks, they're totally frozen. Okay, so, and that's fine, that's cool. What they went for was detail rather than animation, and I can respect that. It looks really good. It's got, you know, some iconic characters mixed in, and but everyone's just frozen in astonishment at the wrestling that's going on here. Good moves. The turnbuckles look less like modern turnbuckles and more like just a kind of a blanket wrapped kind of thing, like they've stuffed some fluff in there and maybe wrapped it up. What a great looking game. So there we go. I think it looks pretty good, right? And so back to my game. The ring is a more realistic size in my game. Now, honestly, this is all going to be done in 32 kilobytes of RAM, whereas that arcade game likely had, dedicated chips, a couple of processors, hundreds of colors, and probably a few programmers working on it. Had good music, it had a ton of animation, it had iconic characters. Darth Vader was in the audience. One of the characters looked like Animal from the Road Warriors, looked exactly like him. So yeah, but I'm thinking, I need to allow myself to be influenced by a lot of these different wrestling games, even though, pro wrestling comes to mind with what I'm approaching. Even though I don't think pro wrestling has outside ring scenes like what this is going to have. This is going to be a modern, but still, 2600 game. And, I'd like to tweak it to make it as good as I possibly can. Like, I thought about adjusting the colors, seeing if you get different colors of rings for them to wrestle in. Have, of course, different title matches, possibly title defending matches. So there's a story going on for your characters. I don't know about a text mode, and I probably won't have a text mode, even though that is enticing to have words popping up and stuff. But it's just it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to see this come to fruition. I love the pictures big time. That's something I haven't seen in many, unless they're modern games that actually have a crowd that are all like super detailed. If you're playing like WWE 25 or whatever, of course. But I mean, in the older 80s style wrestling games, I don't know how many times they had signs, that people held up in the crowds. So yeah, I'm hoping for as much of this good stuff as I can get to happen. Now, one thing I can do, now that I'm thinking about it, is I might be able to put the ball up there to be changes in the crowd. Like maybe I can have the ball be a raised up arm for a specific crowd member at a certain time. Maybe. There's little stuff like that I can add, because the ball isn't, I don't think it's being used at all on this screen yet. So that's an idea. So that's been an update. Progress has been made. Some clay has been cut off of the form that will become a wrestling game. And the more I sculpt, the more I'm going to just put little bits and pieces up here for people to see. Yes, I am an eccentric, sloppy coder. I'm more of a musician and an animator than anything, and this is a chance for me, because of the simplicity of the coding language, and it's a chance for anyone really that can learn BASIC to make their own video games and really get into it and embrace those limitations and see what they can do. So, thanks for watching. Try to keep up with it, and thanks for the comments and everything. I've actually made a couple of friends because of this endeavor, and one could say that's more valuable than any small amount of money that could be made off these things. Although it's not going to hurt to get some money. Oh yeah, but it's nice talking to people. It is. It's neat talking to people about these subjects and fleshing out ideas and just talking about coding and what could be done with this 1977 Atari VCS, the 2600.